Donald Trump took a visit to California. This, of course, in response to the devastating wildfires. And I want to dive into a presser that he held and some really uncomfortable, intense, but necessary exchanges that he had as leaders in California, congresspeople, mayor, etc., confronted him and said what he needs to hear, but probably won't listen to, which is you cannot do what you're saying that you want to do, which, as we've been discussing, is condition California wildfire aid on California changing their voting laws. Changing their voting laws. Doesn't really matter what the policy is, but particularly crazy that that's what he's wanting. And so he's saying we won't give you, or I'm going to try to obstruct giving you federal aid unless you change your laws, unless you give me a concession on a political debate that we have. Now, as we go through these clips, remember that California is one of those blue states that pays more into the federal government in tax revenue than they get back in federal expenditures. So they are what's referred to as a donor state, right? They are funding the government more than they get back federally. And that then stands to reason is a part of what goes to fund the aid that goes to red states that receive more in aid in federal expenditures than they pay into the government federally. And so while California literally funds without getting the equal amount back in federal spending, whenever aid needs to go to red states, and we don't want to leverage that for concessions on a lot of their whacked laws, and they're willing to stand behind Trump as he does that to a state that funds their aid when they're in a crisis. It is disgusting. Here's the first clip I want to show you of this exchange, and there's a few different ones. While you watch, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate this show.
Competently run, and it costs about 3 times more than it should cost.
I'm hoping
we can spend money on schools instead of giving money to bureaucracy. It takes you so much longer.
Mr. President,
it takes you so much longer
FEMA for helping our people.
FEMA has a standard, Brad, and I'm a builder. I was a very good builder. FEMA has a standard that's so slow. They want permit on permit on permit, and then they want permits on top of that. If you use FEMA...
We've discussed before many of his lies, so just take all this with a grain of salt. And also, he's talking about abolishing FEMA in a different segment. Recently, we talked about the implications of that. What would happen if we got rid of FEMA? And actually, in many cases, again, as we always bring up, it would end up hurting red states more than blue states. But that's not actually true, because with his broader framework here, he'd love to set up a situation where he's able to give with no problem red states the support they need, but then only, like he's doing now, so it's not speculative, as he's doing now, withhold it when it comes to blue states.
Thank you for coming
to
the 32nd Congressional District and
Thank you.
making feel most people don't have adequate insurance because they couldn't get it. So one company dropped 1,600 policies just in the last 6 months. We've got 16 times as much property damage here as from Hawaii. And I'm hoping that we get at least 16 times the federal appropriation for the CDBG program that helps people rebuild. And I know you've talked about policies of California that you're not a fan of, but I've been in Congress for 28 years. I really disagree with Louisiana on their abortion policy. I disagree with them on their campaign finance policy. I disagree with North Dakota on their gun policy. And I would never turn to somebody from Louisiana and say, you keep living on your cousin's couch, because we're not going to help you rebuild until Louisiana agrees with me on a woman's right to choose. So I'm hoping that we can get these funds and that we don't punish individuals for the policies of their state. You can disagree with them, and I think you've got some ideas. I look forward to us listening. Also, on tariffs, I often agree with you on tariffs, but how about no tariffs on building materials for the next 3 years?
Well, we'll take a look at that, actually.
Well, we're taking a look at everything all the time, except for we're not, because that's not at all the policy that he's planning on implementing if he follows through. I just saw today he's now announcing more tariffs. I think it was Colombia. And that was Democratic Representative Brad Sherman making the point we've been making, but an excellent one, which is you can disagree with the policies of a state, obviously, but to leverage this moment, to exploit this moment, shows an extreme dedication to partisanship, to politics over everything else. And I remember a story coming out about how last time Trump was president, they tried to convince him to not do what now he's doing with California. And it was essentially talking about how even though the state doesn't vote for you with the majority, there's still a lot of Trump supporters there. And he would go, really? Well, then maybe we give them aid. It's so twisted. And this is what they tried to project onto Biden when he didn't do it. But they accused him of it. Now Trump is admitting that's what he's doing. Admitting he's playing politics with a disaster. And his side, who was all aggrieved when Biden was supposedly doing it, when Biden wasn't, does not care when Trump actually does it. Here's more. Now he goes back with Karen Bass, the LA mayor.
For one thing that we are going to do immediately, and you will see this happen, is to clear out the debris. And we're concerned right now over the weekend because of the potential rain, but we are going to move as fast as we can, but we want you to be safe. And we want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't cost a lot.
Yes, and they can.
You should let them do it because by the time you hire contractors, it's going to be 2 years.
If a family...
The people are willing to get a dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can.
There's not that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people, I know.
Do you hear his mindset? Does he understand the magnitude of the recovery efforts we're talking about? And he's been saying, I just think states should figure out themselves. Oh, but we'll take care of North Carolina. They voted for me. But some states should figure it out for themselves. Don't be asking me for money, even though your state pays more to me, to put it simply, than they even get back.
That guy right there that's talking, I know my people. You'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours. And that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract that's going to charge him $25,000 to do his lot. Yeah. I think you have emergency powers just like I do. And I'm exercising my emergency powers. You have to exercise them also.
I did exercise them.
Because I looked, you have a very powerful emergency power, and you can do everything within 24 hours.
Yes. And if individuals want to
24 hours, like the same 24 hours where he was going to solve the Russia-Ukraine war?
Clear out their property, they can. Well, yes, but you know that you will be able to go back soon.
Yeah, so it goes on, but Trump, the reason I really want us to keep our focus on this aid issue is because Trump really wants the conversation to he loves sitting down and sort of belittling Democratic politicians and saying, this is what you're not doing well enough. And some of the things, if we went down every single line item, there are going to be some issues that have been mismanaged. I keep saying that, and those should be criticized. But you can do that every single time there's a natural disaster response. Every time. And we don't make that, while I still think whenever Republicans are overseeing a response, they should be criticized like Democrats when they make mistakes or they're not working fast enough or people don't feel like they're getting enough aid, all of that. But that doesn't mean you use the criticisms as justification to induce more pain as you wait for policy concessions. I really struggle to get my head around the justification with this. Then this is a Republican politician. Let's hear.
Mr. President, we're going to be together next week. And during the interim, many of us are involved and Tom McClintock, who you know has been an expert on this for years.
That's right.
We are going to be putting conditions on the money that do two things. Require that it be done timely and affordable. And then secondly, that we protect those who will come afterwards. As we speak, there are 6,000 acres burning in my district on the Mexican border. There will be more fires until we include in any disaster relief items which will prevent it or at least mitigate it from happening again. So you're going to see us proposing both of those.
Like water. Little
We're
things
gonna
like
do
water.
that for them.
You know, the party of common sense. See, we're the party
Yeah, the
of
thing that you know nothing about, because every time you talk about it, you prove that you're completely clueless about the California water system.
common sense. You're not, in all fairness.
Yes, sir.
We like water to put out fires. It's really quite efficient. All right.
Thank
Sure.
you, Mr. President.
Gosh, I don't even know what that guy was trying to say. I guess he's saying he wants conditions, but those didn't relate to the voter ID point that Trump keeps bringing up. So I don't know if he's trying to say we could do conditions, but different stuff because he's overseeing one of these districts, or if he's just pitching new ideas. Oh, let's add even more. But then, let's see here. This should be the reminder of what Trump's been saying on conditions.
Funding to Los Angeles because of its sanctuary city policy?
I want to see two things in Los Angeles. Voter ID, so that the people have a chance to vote. And I want to see the water be released and come down into Los Angeles and throughout the state. Those are the two things. After that, I will be the greatest president that California has ever seen. I want the water to come down and come down to Los Angeles and also go out to all the farmland that's barren. And
Getting back to the thing that we've extensively discussed his misunderstandings about. And then I hate voter ID, that term too. It's a debate over what types of identification you're requiring at what steps, as opposed to some people advocating for you aren't identified at all or something. You're just going in and anonymously vote. I don't even know what they think, but he's asking for voting law changes to make more restrictive a voting system that does not yield a lack of security every single time it's been researched. So this is Trump's focus when he goes to review the damage and destruction done by these wildfires. How can I use this moment to my political gain?